Canada's largest cherry producing company. So I had this supervisor job with a crew of Mexicans, like a big crew of Mexicans I was supervising, because I speak Spanish fluent.
Yeah.
And then after the job, there was all this post-harvest, post-season work that needed to be done, and because of certain circumstances with someone quitting, I was kept on by one of the big managers, and I worked really well. He was really happy, and then he offered to give me work starting in April. So I decided after my job finished, I went back to Ontario to visit, and then I finally decided, all right, I'll come to China. I'll just like pop my cherry. You know, I've never been here before. I felt more scared about coming here than I would flying and going back to the Amazon, because it was so unknown. I don't know the language. I don't eat pork, and you know. So I had this job opportunity lined up, and I just came with a 2-month ticket, and then so I had in mind when I came that I wanted to learn 2 specific forms. One was this Tai Yi, Wu Xing Chuan, the 5-direction fist Tai Yi, and that I wanted to learn Bagua also. But anyway, that changed as soon as I came here. I saw this French girl. She was doing this Fu Hu Chuan, this open fist tiger kung fu, tiger fist kung fu, and I thought it looked really cool. So I decided I would start with this tiger fist kung fu, and then really I just wanted to learn a couple of forms, see how it was, kind of scout the place out, and then go back and work, and then make a bunch of money, and then come back, or maybe go back to the Amazon, but then eventually I could come back here for 1 year. And but then after 6 weeks, that it was coming closer and closer to my flight date, and then I just decided, like, it was kind of ridiculous to just leave. Like, there was so much more training I still had in front of me, and I had this opportunity to stay, and it didn't make any sense to just go back to Canada for this job opportunity to make more money just to come back here.
Yeah.
And I just decided I just skipped my flight and extended my visa and stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So 6 months. But going back to my question, like how, what were your expectations coming here? Like you said it was mostly unknown though, right? Like you didn't know much about China or much about Wudang Mountain. Well, you learned something in Amsterdam. But I'm just kind of looking for did your expectations meet the reality when you got here, or what were some of the surprises or kind of eureka moments when you got here?
Well,
what really like made you want to stay?
okay, and I'd done some research online about this place, so I had some kind of visuals, like images about the training and the place itself, photographs of the place, photographs of Yushugang, so I knew kind of the environment just from the photographs. So I had some kind of visual idea about that. But I think like the magic for me was sometimes, I would say it was sometimes at Yushugang, but more it was in the afternoon training, when we used to train in the afternoons back when it was cooler.
Yeah.
And we were training in the courtyard just there. And it's not too hard to explain, but like I just had this, just some kind of like magical vibe about the energy, if it's alright to use that word. Like the coaches I think the coaches are really deep into it, and they've gone through a lot of hard training. And the students also, like everyone seemed pretty serious about what they were learning. And it just seemed like there was this special kind of vibe about the practice in itself that I could feel was really rooted in some ancient type of place.
And going into the practice itself, have you noticed, or what changes have you noticed in your body, and have you had any unique or unusual sensations since you started training?
Well, I'm pretty thin. I'm a really thin guy, and I don't know if you can tell, but I've definitely become quite a lot stronger. Like my muscles, I think, are just becoming a lot stronger than they were before. I never trained this hard ever before in my life. I mean, it's still hard. It's still hard. I used to smoke, but I quit years ago, and then I started smoking again last year at this cherry farm job because I don't know why, really just the stress, or I just had the feeling like I'm going to start smoking again. And then after 1 month here, just over a month here, I quit again. And but it's still hard. I think it's still hard for everyone, even people who don't smoke. Even after 2 or 3 or 4 months of being here, it's still really hard. For smokers, non-smokers, it doesn't matter. Like the basics that they have us doing, the drills, if you really train hard, like doing these kung fu forms, trying to remember how to breathe properly while you're doing these forms so that your heart isn't just beating 200 beats a minute by the end of it. So it's challenging. But I think there's a couple of things. I think with some of the more like physically demanding aspects of the practice, like certain types of kicks, or like certain types of kicks in particular, like roundhouse kicks or jump roundhouse kicks and things like that. And when I first started, my flexibility wasn't all that good. It wasn't that bad, and I think I was able to become relatively flexible fairly quickly. And now I'm just like that far from getting into a split.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think it's kind of a unique sort of abstract sensation anyway, once your body knows how to do certain moves that you thought maybe were like impossible to do before. When I first started, there were certain kicks especially where your body's just moving in a very particular way that were really challenging. And then after some months and months and months and actually being able to do these moves, it's kind of it's a mental wash in a way. Yeah. You just lose kind of all. You really just it's really bringing you into the present moment, because I think just the nature of how demanding it is to do the practice. But then also maybe energetically, if it's all right to use that word.
No, that's like my last article is about chi, so that's kind of where I'm leading with the unusual sensations.
Yeah, I had this one time in particular, maybe a few months ago, we were doing this cloud hands practice. Mm-hmm. And we were just doing it for, I don't know how many minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And it was our coach Gao who was leading this practice. And then he had us doing it faster and faster and faster and faster. And then he slowed it down again. And then I had this feeling, really had this strange sensation feeling of like how when you put opposite ends of a magnet together.
Yeah.
And how it pushes. Yeah. But it pushes, but in a kind of really precise way, how they repel each other in a really precise way. And I had this feeling like that was happening in my body, that when I was moving, that there was some kind of force field between my arms, between my hands, that was creating this kind of repelling sensation, and I was actually moving in this really precise way that was almost not beyond my control, but it seemed like there was something else